One of the most amazing things about self-reflection allows you to understand the truth of what is actually going on inside of you, not what is going on outside of you. Now, of course, this channel isn't about wellness, but it is part of the journey of building your wealth. And in today's video, and I know I haven't been here for at least 11, 12 days for very particular reasons that I'm going to point out to you in this video with small little bits and pieces of information. In today's video, my friends, we have to understand that it's an inside job. It's not an outside job. And self-reflection, like what I've been going through and what I've been experiencing, is so important to understand where we're at. It's also important to take a step away from the little black boxes that we use every single day of our lives and to help us understand, to be more of who you are, to take care of yourself, to take care of your friends and your family, and to have opportunities that give you a moment of just living instead of always being angst about being on the edge of your seat, about where your trade is, what's busy happening in the markets and everything. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you some serious compact information. I'm going to try and keep it as short as possible, but it's going to be quite a lengthy video. So stay tuned with me. I know it's been some time. I hope you understand. It is very important for us to always take moments for inner reflection. So without another moment of hesitation, let's delve right into today's content, because of course, the markets are being obliterated. My trades got wiped out, and we continue to just enjoy the cycle of what happens. And when what happens, you take a pause, you take a moment, and you realize everything that you need to do, and that the noise around you is just exactly that. It is just noise. So poise yourself with grace and gratitude that you are here to live another day, because what I'm going to show you in today's video is going to show you exactly what you need to do right now. You need to be understanding the following steps that are going ahead, because what has been going on in the market is not going to change for us. And the new narrative for this cycle, why is that? Because of institutions, is infrastructure and networks. And in today's session, I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm doing with my portfolio, where I'm readjusting, what I'm rotating into, and what's about to happen. Whatever you have left in your portfolios, because I'm sure most of us in our portfolios are actually down and are bleeding. So now is the right time to rotate, adjust, and get with this new narrative for the cycle. Stay tuned with me right to the very end. But in the meantime, please go ahead, and if you are watching this video, subscribe to the Crypto Bliss community. Yes, it was 11 days ago that I did a video for you. I said the next move would be up. I was wrong, unfortunately, my friends. I was impatient, and I now know what is going on, where we're seeing large banks and large corporations, institutions, actually trying to suppress the price of Bitcoin, crash it, talk bad about it, sell MicroStrategy, and do a whole bunch of other stuff that is actually just causing Bitcoin price to step down. Now, we do know that a new Federal Chair Reserve has been selected, so congratulations to Kevin Warsh, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But in the meantime, let's get cracking on with today's starting off with the strange and ridiculous news that has come out all around Epstein and what's been going on with Epstein. And I'm going to start off with the strange news, because this will lead us into understanding where Bitcoin is right now, who has a role to play in the collapse and the crash of Bitcoin right now, and why it's affecting us, and what you need to know on what the future looks like for crypto at this point. Because right now, there's blood on the streets, and we are undoubtedly in a bear market, and we need to understand that. So, Epstein's publicist roasted Michael Saylor as creepy. He's so creepy, I don't even know if I can take his money. I don't even know how to blackmail him. He has no personality and doesn't understand social behavior. Imagine a creep calling you creepy. Michael's autistic traits helped him dodge a bullet here. I dig this because actually Michael Saylor giving $25,000 for personality, sort of like a zombie on a drug. Saylor is a complete creep. He has no personality. So you see, this is the thing here, is that oh my gosh, we understand that Epstein had something to do with the talks of Bitcoin early on. So did Peter Thiel, so did Michael Saylor. They just all didn't understand it. And I believe that Trump was even a part of that, and so many more. A lot of people knew about Bitcoin very, very early on. And Bitcoin is only taking its massive, serious adoption now. And just by the way, this was August 2010, okay, which was just kind of a year and 18 months after Bitcoin was essentially first transaction was made. That gives us clues to what leads us into the next understanding of Bitcoin. And exactly why I have taken a step back from the channel, from crypto, so that I could learn to see better what the next moves are, because I've been so caught up in the noise and looking at what everybody else is doing instead of understanding my position and where I'm at and what I'm doing for my future and how it can help you by relaying this kind of information to you. So if you appreciate that, make sure to obliterate the like button. I really appreciate that. So, Mr. Saylor, this is one of those moments where the insult accidentally turns into law. This is a post from Mario Norfal. This is an internal Epstein email from his publicist Peggy Siegel after meeting Saylor, the tech billionaire and Bitcoin enthusiast. She basically complains that Saylor is unusable, no ego, no vanity, no sex bait, no social instincts, no obvious fear. She literally says she doesn't even know how she blackmailed him because he doesn't seem to respond to normal human buttons. In Epstein world, that's a malfunction, and sometimes being socially unreadable saves your ass. That comes from exactly what I've just shared with you in the Epstein file and the Epstein post. And so you can see that this is the interesting thing about what has led Mr. Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy, obviously after all the companies were selling shares in MicroStrategy earlier on, it then converted into a Bitcoin treasury after Saylor experienced a crash, other people selling his stocks, bleeding his stocks dry. They're still trying to do the same thing to him. This man is unbreakable, is all I'm going to say to you right now, because no matter what happens, and right now we're at a baseline at the break-even point of his price point of accumulation of Bitcoin. Now, if you can understand that, they can push the price of Bitcoin further and further down. All that he's going to continue to do is he'll be choked, but he will use what he can because he currently has 20 months of runway. He will use what he can to buy back more Bitcoin at lower prices, bringing that price down, therefore causing a disinfectant reaction to the poison that has been served by the banks and the banking institutions that are currently crashing Bitcoin and MicroStrategy. More evidence in the video. Stay tuned with me, because yesterday's Bitcoin crash and today's Bitcoin crash has led us down to Bitcoin reaching all the way down to $75,687, my friends. Now, do I think we're going to have a bit of a bounce off of this level? It is a possibility. It is a line that I have drawn in the sand for us, which goes back all the way to pretty much the previous high here, which is an upsloping trend line with the stochastic in this kind of form, which is pulling down again. We could see and experience a little bit of a pullback. We already are having somewhat a pullback back above the white box here. That is a good sign, but in all honesty, when the chart starts to look like this, I expect us to come lower, and I would expect us to possibly even reach down into the zones of these highs right here, which would probably be around that zone, which is where I would expect us to possibly reach. Now, my friends, that's quite a way down, right? Wouldn't you say so? And that's at $55,000. So that could be the most extreme case on Bitcoin. However, I do want to just, with a word of caution, okay, we've pulled back. The wick has pulled down to this level. We've pulled back above my white box. We've pulled back above all of this price zone action here, okay. The stochastic RSI is still extremely oversold, but it is at 22.48, so it can still come down, okay. But what I would expect us to do is to pull back into this zone, okay, create a lower high, and then crash through this level, wick down into this zone here, which is the previous market's all-time high, and then pull back into this zone, creating the next lower high, and then one last flush out, possibly down to somewhere within this price action zone. Now, this would be my absolute worst case scenario. And in fact, if I had to look at the even worst case scenario, that would be it at $40,000 right there. Now, I don't think so, because this is where the ETFs actually started to come in, was here actually at the beginning of January. So this was where the ETFs came in, and then we had this massive rally. So in my personal view, the price action is not going to come back down to that level. The institutions will very much unlikely let that happen. And why I'm saying that is because this is the zone where they took profits and they readjusted. This is a strong area of support. So I wouldn't expect us to come below at least $60,000 there, my friends. Now, that is my personal view. I'd like to know what your views are down in the comments below. And if you believe that Bitcoin, I'd like to know. Let me know down in the comments below where you think Bitcoin is coming to, whether it's up or down, whether the price is below us or above us. I'd love to hear where my community believes Bitcoin will come to. Now, I just want to draw this one last little box for you, because this would be the first box to draw down to, okay? That would be the first zone to draw down to, kind of the 68 to the 60,000 level, okay? That would be my first level. And the reason I'm saying this is because, number one, the first bank has officially failed. When we saw the banks failing in 2020 and 2023, we essentially saw a crash price in Bitcoin. This is the start of this. This is the first bank to go down in 2026, and we're only 1 month into the year, just a heads up. Chicago's Metropolitan Bank, Capital Bank, and Trust becomes the first US bank failure of 2026. Not only that, we're already 11% down for the year, below the average ETF cost basis, and at Strategy's cost basis for the first time since 2023 at $78,000. And we're 4th month down in a row. As you can see, we're the 4th month down in a row. We were down here, we were down here, we were down here, we were down here. Now, this was the doji candle. This candle actually here told us to get out. So, unfortunately, none of us listened. And this is why I've had this moment of self-reflection during this time, my friends. And the self-reflection has been so critically important, because really the volume is heavy in these candles right now. And we need to understand that we are very likely, for me, a good level to come down to would possibly be there, $60,000. That would be a good level to retest. It would still hold the structure of a higher low, because that would be the low over here. That would be the structure that I would like to see. Now, I think we're going to do it. Honestly, I think we do. And that would be my buy zone. I'm going to be heavily buying in the 60,000 to 70,000 zone. That is going to be my heavy buy zone. I'm just giving you a heads up. before I move on, I need to make one thing very clear to you, okay? That even though we could be coming down, we're creating lower highs on the stochastic. We're creating lower highs on our stochastic, lower lows as well. And we're creating higher highs on price. That is bearish divergence, okay? And right now, we can understand that we're still going to pull down. We're probably going to flatline like this for a little bit while we pull down the price down to 60K. That's what the banks intend to do, because the banks have lost out. The banks can now custody Bitcoin and essentially offer it as a next level. What I do want to heed caution is that we are seeing a bit of a turnover in the S&P 500. This is very much a topping out pattern here. The steam is running out, okay? It told us to buy here. I highly doubt that. I would be absolutely cautious. We're very, very, very much topping out. When you zoom in here, we're kind of flicking the highs up here, just a little bit by dollar, but really our candles are closing below this candle's high here, and that is telling us that we're essentially we're looking for a down momentum. This candle's a star candle, and this, when we have star candles, my friends, that's what happens when we have star candles. I would expect us to possibly end up seeing the same kind of concept. That is a 20% pullback. Wow. If we were to see that from this here right now, 20% pullback, we would see ironically down to the 786 level, and we would see a very strong pullback into this zone, which would still create a higher low. But if this was to happen, this is exactly what is going to cause Bitcoin to come down to the 60, maybe even the 40K level, 50K level. Like here is a very sturdy, strong support zone at 43,300. In fact, I want to leave us a little line here just for our future, so that we too can understand where we could possibly be heading there. $43,300, my friends. We could go down there. If that was the case, holy shit, that would be a massive, massive retracement right down. That's okay. First of all, that's a 50% drawdown. Currently, we're down 40% from the top. That would be a 50% from the top. The 55 level would be 56% from the top. The 50K level would be 61% from the top, and this would be 65% from the top. So I wouldn't put that out. When we do have the sell, we do sell. But when we do get the buy on the monthly time frame, my friends, that is exactly when we will be buying Bitcoin on the masses, my friends. And that will be what will convert your dollars into absolutely life-changing generational wealth. So I'd be very cautious here right now, especially considering gold itself pulled back from the top here right down 10%. Okay, let's go and look at gold on the day. Look at gold. We got told to sell. That's a selling candle, my friends. That's a very much a reverse. I would expect us to come back to gold, at least to this zone right here at the very least, my friends. That's gold's, that's going to be gold's level right here. Okay, we're seeing $4,200, $250. And silver, my friends, silver did even worse. And look at the stochastic. We're crossing over here. I would very much be absolutely cautious in this. Silver punched down 20%. Holy crap modals, okay? Silver in one day wicked down 38%. That is a magnitude. I can't even say the word. That is a magnitude of a crash, my friends. Pulled us right back under $100. I would presume that with a stochastic and a sell trigger like this, we are absolutely going to get a bit of a sell pressure relief, and I would presume that we should see this pull back into the $54 zone even. $54 zone would be probably where I would see this come to. Yeah. Wow, my friends, that is tremendous. Now, don't be fooled, because on the lower time frames, okay, we're probably going to get a pullback up to the 108, 111 and then sell out. Maybe even push higher and then sell out first. I don't know, but all I can say to you is that they like to catch people like this. You can see on the 4 hour, it's going to have a nice relief rally here now, probably pull back. At this level, I'm going to look for a sell opportunity right here, my friends, and that's all I'm going to say to you. So even though Bitcoin has crashed 13%, Ethereum has crashed 20%, gold has crashed 13%, silver crashed 40%, dollar crashed 2%, everything's crashing. You got nowhere to put your money right now. So what I can tell you to do, without this being financial advice, is just store the value in value associated coins. Silver's 40% literally is 2x Bitcoin's market cap. Okay. Silver lost $2 trillion in 1 day. Okay. In minutes. Not 1 day, in minutes. Okay. And that pushed Bitcoin down to 13, which is now only sitting at a 1.5 trillion. We're out of the top 10 at the moment. But they're doing that because they want the price down. When Bitcoin starts to rally, it's going to gobble these things up here. It's going to gobble the price of silver. And for us to get to where we at in silver is going to take us to a $300,000 price. Now, my friends, with gold dropping a market cap in a day of all of silver, the markets have to readjust. And when they readjust, just know that when Trump hopes that Fed chair will do more rate cuts, just have a close look at what he says here.
My choice, my Fed choice, should get Democrat. He's going to lower them. I mean, if you watch on television, as I watch interviews, statements, he's going to lower them. But he's going to have to do what he wants to do.
Tell you, did he make any?
No, I don't want to do that. I couldn't do that, I guess. I did. I based it on quality. I mean, he's a very high quality person. My choice, my Fed choice, should get Democrat.
So understanding where we're at, we've got a new Federal Chair Reserve coming in. Bye-bye to Jerome Powell. He's really, that man and his superiors have simply deteriorated the world economic environment. They've crushed people's wealth over this time. And my friends, if you have learned how to read the signals, now is the time to reposition. So stay with me and make sure you're subscribed to the Crypto Bliss community, because what I'm about to share with you is going to be absolutely life-changing for you. So stick with me. I've got a few moments left with you here. Because the COVID crash was $1.2 billion in liquidations. The FTX crash was $1.6 billion in liquidations. And random Saturday, which was yesterday, there was $2.5 billion in liquidations, which is almost more than both of those combined. Now, what the hell do you think is going on? They are pushing the market down. The banks don't want the markets to succeed. And so that's exactly why they're continuing to push the strategy price down. Now, strategy is almost bottoming out. I'm just forewarning you, my friends. This is a signal, a very nice signal, telling us that we could expect Bitcoin to go up soon, but not quite yet. Why is that? You can see from my signal here that this is where my buy zone is on strategy at $129 to $130. This box is the buy zone for strategy. And between 103, so call it $100 to $130, that is an amazing, amazing accumulation point for MicroStrategy. And the same would be for Bitcoin at the same level, which in all fairness, I really believe we're probably just going to kind of float down to this level here, the 68 to 65,000. That's where I think we're going to float down to, somewhere in that zone. Why would you not accumulate? And if you're ready to accumulate, make sure you do it on Bybit using my link down in the description of the video below. You can see here that we're on the 200 moving average right now. This candle has closed, this monthly candle closed yesterday, has closed way down here. I would expect us to at least pull down to here, the 61,666 level. Honestly, we're going to pull down there and then wick back up over the course of February. That's what I see happening over the course of this month. And if you want to trade with me, make sure to use my Bybit link down in the description of the video below. Now, I will be buying lots of this asset. And what I do want to leave you with in this very, very short moment is that altcoins are bleeding. They have the total 3 ES, excluding BTC, Ethereum, and stable coins, is bleeding. It's broken this downtrend here, which means it's broken structure, which means that we're heading lower. And I would expect us on altcoins to bleed down to the 300 to 350, $60 billion level. Now, the others BTC chart tells a little bit of a different story, okay? But we're still bleeding. I would expect us to still fall within this downsloping channel right down to this level down here, which is 0.08 or 0.09. I'd expect us to come down to this level, my friends, back down to the white box. And the reason I'm saying that, and I would pull this down here, okay, is because the market is going down. It is trending down. The liquidity is draining out. And once it drains out of gold and silver, we're going to see the market start to put that back into other risk on assets, which starts off with Bitcoin. I would expect us in Ethereum, of course, I'm not going to leave this Ethereum out. I would expect Ethereum to come down to the 2000 level. We would still be in a head and shoulder structure. We would just pull this down a little bit, okay? So I would say that we're going to remain in this zone, in the structure. And I would expect Ethereum to eventually have a rally out. But Bitcoin first, and Bitcoin will lead the chart. Make no mistake about that. For now, just enjoy the show. And all I want to say to you, and what's left over of the show, is that I am literally, I've sold my snack, I've sold all my shit coins, I've sold everything. I'm selling them while they're down. You're going to ask me, well, what the hell am I doing? Why am I selling them while they're bleeding 85% down? Well, because they can still go, if they were at $10 a coin and they went down 80%, that would be down to $2. They could still lose 80% of the $2, which means it would go down to like 20 cents, okay? 40 cents. My friends, you don't want to be sitting in that, and it could then bleed out and die down even more from that. So you don't want to be sitting in that right now. What you do want to do is you want to take your cash out of those tokens, okay, which are going to go nowhere. They're going to bleed. They're going to die. I've been here for 7 years in this crypto space right now. I know what I'm talking about. I know what I've experienced. And what I would say is move those into assets that are infrastructure and network related, which is where heavy institutional adoption is busy taking place. That is the reason why the large institutions and the banks are holding the prices down. They're suppressing it. They have not yet let the crypto bulls go on for a rally yet. Now, we've still got some time. So just do the rotation, clean up your portfolio. And if you want a video on what I have sold and what I have rotated into, then make sure to subscribe to the Crypto Bliss community, obliterate the like button. And I want to see this video go over 100 views. If the video doesn't go over 100 views, I am not doing that video for you. So make sure to obliterate the views, obliterate the like, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you on the next one. And thank you for being here with me once again. I truly appreciate it. Thank you, and we'll see you on the next one.